Hello and welcome to our show. Today we have with us a professor at the University of California, Los Angeles, UCLA. He is a person who works at the Laboratory of Comparative Neuroimmunology, Department of Neurobiology. Let's welcome Dr. Edwin Cooper to the show. Hello sir, welcome to our show.
Thank you.
We want to know more about you and your education, your history, everything.
I learned to like animals really quite early in my boyhood. And as a result, I studied zoology for the baccalaureate, the master's, and the PhD. So I'm primarily a biologist. I had also an interest in art. I won prizes in art, and my parents were impressed, but they said that I should not study art because I would not make a good living, that I should study biology because I was excited about it. So my education has been primarily as a biologist, focusing on development, ontogeny development, that is the embryo, as well as phylogenetic or evolutionary development, looking at the development throughout various animal groups. And as a result, I had a thesis. My master's thesis was on the development of the ear in chick embryos. And then my PhD thesis was the development of immune systems in fish. I then left Brown University, which is the sixth oldest university in America, founded in 1764, and I went to California, and there I worked the development of the immune system in frog larvae, which are closer in evolutionary development to humans, and I also worked on the immune system of earthworms, which are invertebrate animals and far away in evolution, yet they have a very complicated immune system called the innate immune system, and we humans have an innate immune system. And I helped to develop this theory around the innate immune system arose in invertebrate animals, and the adaptive system that humans and fish and frogs have developed much later.
Coming to your journal, what does ECAM exactly mean?
It's a short story and a long story. I started another journal in 1977 that related to the immune system. That journal became quite successful. It is now number 5 among all the journals that are published by Elsevier, which is a very large publishing house. And as a result of my success with that journal, I was offered the position to start the journal ECAM by Oxford University Press. They were eager to have me do it because I had demonstrated success with this other journal. And so I accepted it. So what did I call it? They were interested in complementary medicine, which is a broad subject for all of the ancient medical practices in older cultures, in China or in Japan or Korea or Vietnam, all of these older cultures. And there were some instances in America, but these are not as clear and practiced at all like they are in these Asian countries. So I saw the need for a journal that would be what I called evidence-based, because I detected that these systems in, let's say in China or in India, were not scientifically based. And I wanted to approach the topic of CAM from an evidence-based approach. So I named the journal Evidence-Based Complementary and Alternative Medicine, and cut it short and called it ECAM. So it has the emphasis has been on evidence. Is it good science? And if it's good science, it would be acceptable, because what has been the predominant feature in these ancient cultures is more anecdotal. It's not based on any scientific experimentation. And that's very, very important. Well, it was well received. There are several people here who were members of the first editorial board. It was quite successful, so successful that Oxford University Press asked me to find another publisher because they could no longer afford to publish it. It became so popular and so in such demand that it was essential to find another publisher. So some years later, about 2006, I think it was, I had the choice to sell ECAM, to buy ECAM myself, or to let ECAM die. Well, I couldn't let it die because it was too popular. The world was excited about ECAM. And so the administration at Oxford University Press decided to help find another publisher, and they chose a developing publisher in Egypt called Hindawi, which is open access, which means that authors pay to have their publications published. Well, I thought this may not be so good because who has the money to pay for a publication? Well, I was wrong because people were so excited. Everybody who had an accepted paper paid for it. And at that time, the cost was $750. It is now $1,700 to publish a published paper in ECAM because it has become so popular.
Did you do any special studies or special education for starting this journal?
No, I learned like we all learned by experience. I learned because I've published a lot of papers myself prior to starting ECAM, and I had started the journal called Developmental Immunology. I started that one in 1977, and it became quite popular as well. So I didn't have a special education to become an editor. I just was enthusiastic about editing and helping others to publish and advance ideas, so it just came very natural.
What has been the impact of ECAM?
Well, the impact has been, I think it's been significant. As judged by the number of invitations that I have received to go to various places to lecture, also to have students write to me to come to my office or come to my lab of the university so that I can help them. It is extremely popular. I'm here as a result of the journal. I have been to Korea, to Taiwan, to China, to Canada. After the first editorial, I entitled the first editorial Evidence-Based Complementary and Alternative Medicine When Rigorous Can Be Science. Well, as a result of that first editorial, I had numerous floods of invitations to go and lecture. So obviously I had the right idea to give it that particular name, a global name that would include Ayurveda, TCM, and all of the other ancient practices, but with a scientific basis.
Why is ECAM so unique?
I think it's unique because I emphasize evidence-based, and I also emphasize animal models. We can learn a lot by using animal models for two reasons. You can do repetitive experimentation, and there are less ethical concerns. There are less concerns about expenses. For example, you can use earthworms, which is my favorite animal model. You can use them. They don't cost anything. Animal rights people are not concerned about earthworms being hurt. But if I were doing work on cats as an experimental animal, it would require an enormous amount of paperwork and bureaucracy because of the ethical concerns. Ethical concerns and the expense of maintaining the animals. It's very difficult. And yet what you find, if you've done it well, you can apply it to the human condition, because all of the animal life, including humans, we're all related. We all have similar mechanisms.
Knowing that Ayurveda is so effective, why is it not practiced in Western countries?
Well, because one of the reasons it's very difficult to add on or to undo other systems anywhere. So if you're trying to do it in other countries, you have to convince them that it's worthwhile doing it. It's nothing wrong with Ayurveda. It's just the bureaucracy that everything must go through before it can be accepted. Once you overcome the hurdle of bureaucracy, then you have to start to convince people about it. You can work at one level to get it through the system, whatever the system is, but then once that happens, then you must recruit patients to do it, and they have to decide that, well, maybe I don't want to do Ayurveda. I want to stay with my own medical system. So it's not Ayurveda. It's the bureaucracy that blocks everything.
What is the role of Ayurveda in the field of mental health?
I think Ayurveda in the field of mental health could be as effective as any of the other alternative healthcare systems in other countries. However, it would depend upon I think the attitudes of patients, of those who are seeking of mental health. It may work better in richer countries than in poorer countries. I'm not sure. It requires something that's a bit high, esoteric, a bit high level, and I'm not so sure that persons in the countryside would believe if you said, oh, you should do yoga, you should do mind-body interactions. This is not concrete enough. So I think it depends upon the location, but it could have a role.
Okay. And what are your ongoing researches, sir?
At the moment, I'm interested in the possibility that invertebrate animals can serve, in addition to sources of therapy, which are applicable to alternative medicine, that these invertebrates can also, they're sources of food. For example, we eat shrimp, we eat oysters, we eat crabs, some cultures eat earthworms. And if you isolate products from these, you will find that these products have health benefits. But nobody's looking at that now. So I'm interested in that. I'm collaborating with one of my students from India who did a PhD with me entirely by long distance education. I only met him in Pune several years ago for the first time, and he had already completed his PhD. We have about 6 publications together. He said he was coming to visit me here, but I'm not sure. It's far away in Tamil Nadu state. I'm not sure if he will be able to come. So I'm interested in developing more models, more animal models. For example, I mentioned already earthworms, and then there are certain marine animals like tunicates. One of my current students, who was born here in this state, who is now a student at UCLA, I saw that he was really quite sharp in one of my classes on dealing with integrative medicine, and I invited him to come and work with me, to help me with writing, and he's outstanding, he's good, so he's sharing a chapter with me in a book, edited in Korea, on the healing properties of fluids from tunicates, which are marine animals. I'm also developing special issues of ECAM. If I have an idea, I suggest it to the publisher, and assemble a group of editors, and we then solicit papers. So it's special issues of ECAM that I'm doing.
And what is that one important result that you found in your research?
I think the most important was the discovery that if I exchange transplants between earthworms, the transplants heal and eventually they are destroyed. And it happens in humans, it happens in dogs and cats and mice, and it's a universal phenomenon. And when I made that discovery, that was as exciting then in 1964, as exciting as starting ECAM, but it was about the immune system. So I've had a very a very productive life and an exciting one because it looks like I ask the right questions and I get the right answers.
In your point of view, what are the advantages and limitations of complementary medicine?
I think the advantages are that if used properly, and depending upon the condition of the patient or the person who is uncomfortable or ill, I think it could be really quite beneficial. It could be less expensive. It could be administered by the patient themselves, for example, yoga or meditation. These all have advantages, and they would be really quite appropriate in certain chronic conditions. And so it has distinct advantages. The limitations are maybe not enough experts to advise the person who needs some help. It's not enough experts, so we need to do some more training. We need to offer, as is being done in India, degree programs, integrative medicine, if you will, or Ayurveda, or we need to offer degree programs. We don't have such in the United States. We have courses. I teach a course for undergraduates in integrative medicine, but it's a course that doesn't offer a degree in integrative medicine. We have a group of 9 different persons working in the areas of integrative medicine, but we don't give a degree in it. And I don't think that there's any American university that gives a degree in integrative medicine. It's still classical Western medicine with some education, some courses, but not a degree. Not like it is here or in China or Japan.
What is the role of yoga in Ayurveda?
And I think I cannot answer that too well. I know that it's used and it's very important. I have benefited from. I think it's. I can only give a guess, and I think it's the capacity for an individual to detach themselves from what is happening to them every day, so that they can relax and be calm and elevated to another state, other than the state of bureaucracy.
Can you tell us about your experience at UCLA?
My experiences at UCLA have been really quite good, quite, what shall I say, acceptable. I have the title of Distinguished Professor, which is the highest title that you can attain. I've had it for a number of years. It's a good university. It's an excellent university. When I say all professors are allowed to do exactly what they want to do. One unique feature of American universities is that every 7th year you can go away to another place and work and write. This is very unique, and most of us do that. As a result, I have lived in 4 different countries for 1 year on sabbatical leaves, which is one common beneficial experience for American professors. So it has been really quite good. I wouldn't want a career any other place.
Okay. So that was Dr. Edwin Cooper with us. Thank you, sir. Thank you for spending your valuable time with us, and it was a great time with you.
Thank you for the invitation.